Hi there everybody, welcome to this week's edition of The Verdict. It was a low-key week really, last 7 days, producing some good action but not top class. I've picked out 6 races for you and I hope you'll find them of particular interest. One of the themes that ran through the last 7 days was the number of horses that won from the front. There were a lot of steadily run races. If you scan through the course track sectionals on the Racing TV website, you'll see that there are plenty of races that were steadily run and horses that were ridden prominently held sway throughout the week, and that was particularly the case at Goodwood over the 3 days of their meeting towards the end of the week, and we'll pick out some races from there a little bit later on. But we're going to start at Newmarket on Friday, and it was a good card. Lose Yourself was a debutant winner for Rafe Beckett. Yantani, yet another winner for William Björk. He had a stellar few days, Friday through Sunday. The horse we're going to look at, though, is Classic, who won the 2:35 contest for the Richard Hannon team. Pat Dobbs was on board. And he sent off the long odds-on favourite on the back of an eye-catching effort at Newbury and then a race at Goodwood that perhaps he should have won. He cruised on the bridle through that and just got caught napping a little bit, but he makes amends in style here over 7 furlongs. Make a note of the ground. It was officially described as soft. And I think that's got something to do at many of our tracks over the last 7 days with jockeys just going steady in the early stages of races. And that's possibly why we've had quite a few steadily run races over the last few days. So let's see how this race panned out. Stall 6 for Classic. Obelix came from stall number 1. Now, watch how this horse jumps out of the stalls. He's got the Monty Roberts rug on, which doesn't really help him come out quickly. And Dartman came from stall 5. Dartman had previous experience. Obelix was a newcomer. Classic had a couple of runs to date coming into this. There's Obelix, look. He's just half missed it. There he is. Slowly away. You can keep an eye on him through the race in the striped colours. He puts up a pretty good performance given his tardy start. Meanwhile, Classic has gone straight to the front along with Dartman. Here's your winner, Classic. And there's Obelix, who eventually finishes in 2nd place. And he's pushed along a little bit by Dartman, perhaps making him be a little bit keen and perhaps go a little bit faster than Pat Dobbs wanted. This was quite a strongly run race. Finishing speed percentage 103.04. So the winner finished 3.04% quicker in the final couple of furlongs than he ran the rest of the race. And by and large, he dominated this. And he went quite strongly in front. If you look at the course track sectionals, he dipped under 12 seconds for 5 consecutive furlongs of this race, as did Obelix, who shapes with a good deal of promise. But it's Classic who comes out as being much better than his rivals here, and he quickens up in good style for a final 3 furlongs of 36.33. Compare that to Obelix, who finished well too, 36.53. But he couldn't really live with Classic, who now quickens up the 6th furlong, 11.62. That's now to the 1 pole, bang, 11.62, and then he maintains his momentum all the way to the line. It was sustained speed that he showed throughout this race, under 12 seconds for most of the furlongs, and he just kept rolling out in front under Pat Dobbs. He's clearly pretty useful, this horse, I think. This was not a case of a horse getting to the front and running a finishing speed percentage of over 110%, i.e. going steady, dictating matters, getting first run and kicking clear. This was a horse who at every jump of this race was faster than his rivals. And he has got a pretty good future, I think, this fella. He's entered in the Kazoo Derby next year, but more imminently, he's got a couple of Group 1 entries this season. And the Champagne Stakes has been nominated by trainer Richard Hannon as his likely next target. And I think he's very much worthy of a place in that race. He does have a change of gear. He's learning all the time. Caught napping a little bit at Goodwood last time. Not this time though. Sustained speed for 7 furlongs saw him put his rivals to the sword. Obelix, worthy of going in your Racing TV tracker. Also finished 2nd, having been tardily away. His numbers stack up okay compared to Classic, and he's a well-bred son of See the Stars. So he wants to go in your Racing TV tracker. But it's the Champagne Stakes next for Classic. Let's turn our attentions to Goodwood on Saturday now. A really good card. Hu Yamal, we saw him Once again, he's heading for the St Ledger, then the Melbourne Cup. He was a long odds-on favourite. He took the 3 o'clock contest. Jadumi was another big winner on the card. The 100 to 30 he won at. But the horse I want to look at is Fairy Cross, who won the 150, which was the Prestige Stakes. Fairy Cross is a 2-year-old. This was a Group 3 contest. It was over 7 furlongs, and Fairy Cross went off to 2 to 1 favourite. 100 to 30 Bright Diamond, Brige 9 to 2, 7 to 1 Candle of Hope, and Queen Ollie 8 to 1. It was 10s and bigger the rest. The ground described as good to soft. And here we go. This is one of these slowly run races that I was referring to at the top of the show. There were plenty of these throughout the week, and this was a case of William Buick dominating a race from the front, albeit on a pretty good horse in the Godolphin Blue from stall 5. Beats Brige from stall 8, slightly unlucky in the terms of the trip that Brige got, and Bright Diamond from stall 6, for reasons that I will explain, must be a horse for your racing TV tracker. Right, let's send him on the way. And William Buick was very positive on Fairy Cross. Now, the one thing that is also positive about Fairy Cross is that this horse can be keen. But once sent to the front, she relaxed nicely under William Buick, and he was able to very much dictate terms throughout the 7 furlongs of this Group 3 contest. And she quickens away to win in style. And stop it there. She's here. She's out in front. Now, Brige is here, not getting a very good trip, posted wide, ultimately finished second. The third horse is in yellow, Bright Diamond. So Brige a little bit keen, look at the head carriage, a bit high and a bit wide, giving away ground. The third horse too far back, given how the race was run. The finishing speed percentage, 111.02. Wow. They just crawled out there and then sprinted. And it was Fairy Cross who was in the right place to take advantage of what happened, but also Fairy Cross did show a bright turn of foot, quicker than everything else in the race. So we've just got to be a little bit careful about just putting this down to an easy lead, a high finishing speed percentage. Yes, that is a fact, but also she's got a sharp turn of foot, and the numbers, the course track sectionals, show us that she quickened better than her rivals through one particular furlong, the 6th furlong, there when Buick says go at the cutaway. And she goes really quickly through this furlong, according to the sectionals, according to the numbers, 11.09 seconds on ground with cut in it. Yes, she'd saved loads of energy, she had tons of petrol to quicken up with, but that was a really good turn of foot. And she holds on from Brige and Bright Diamond, who from a positional disadvantage came home very strongly. Now, to your eye, you'd think, yes, I think she's a horse I'm going to keep a close eye on going forward. She's trained by Carl Berg, who's had a stellar year with his 2-year-olds, and Bright Diamond might be worth following. And this backs up that visual impression. Get this. She fired the fastest final 3 furlongs in the race. Through the final 3 furlongs, that horse out wide in the yellow was quicker than Fairy Cross. But Fairy Cross had a 4-5 length advantage when she started sprinting, and she was never going to be run down. 34.41 for Bright Diamond, 34.75 for Fairy Cross. So Bright Diamond, very much inconvenienced, comes home strongly. But it's Fairy Cross who dictated terms, sprinted quickly and fired the fastest furlong of the race, 11.09. That sealed the deal, but Bright Diamond must go into your racing TV tracker, I think, going forward. I don't know where they're going to go with her. And Brige also was a little bit inconvenienced by the run of the race. But Fairy Cross, she's got her act together. This is her second career success. She's lightly raced, and there might be more to come from her. Both her and indeed Bright Diamond are entered in the Rockfell and the Fillies Mile, and she was one of many winners for William Buick over the weekend. Really good card at Beverley on Saturday. Tis Marvellous winning the big sprint on the card at 2:40 for the second year in succession, and some nice performances throughout the card. But the one I've picked out is in the 4:54. It's Silent Monarch, who went off the 6-4 favourite on debut. This is a maiden for 3-year-olds, 7 furlongs and 96 yards the trip, and Silent Monarch, well found in the market, 6-4, Minwar 3-1, 4-1 Jupiter and Mars, and 13-2 Allo Ari, Wendell's Lad 8s, 40s and bigger, the bottom 2. But it was all about Silent Monarch this race. And this is not a front-running performance. This is not an easy lead performance. the contrary. This is a really good performance from off the pace on debut for George Bowie and Kevin Stott. And I think this is a horse well worth keeping an eye on going forward. Silent Monarch broke from stall number 6 in the green colours. Keep an eye on him through the race. Jupiter and Mars came from 7, one of the pace setters. Minoir came from 5. That horse was the pace setter. What was the pace like? It was honest. It was a very good, even gallop. There was no messing around here. There was no case of Minoir getting it easy, but Minoir was not forced to go too fast out in front. It was just an honest, even gallop, giving every horse in the race a chance, although Silent Monarch was quite a long way back as they swung down the hill towards the home straight. Here's your winner. That's Silent Monarch there. Now the second and third are up front. You've got Minoir and Jupiter and Mars, and Jupiter and Mars was second and Minoir was third. So, given that this race was quite evenly run, I think we can infer that this winner has done very well to drag in those pace setters, to drag in those two horses who are up there from the outset. They didn't go too fast and they didn't stop according to the numbers. They were simply run down by Silent Monarch. 100.64 the finishing speed percentage here. That's telling us that it's a nice even gallop and that they're not going steady in front. They're just going right. They've got it spot on out in front. And the winner, who's just angled to the outside now, quickens up quite impressively amid real inexperience. The 5th furlong of 11.49 was Silent Monarch's best in the race. And it took him into contention, getting to Jupiter and Mars and Minoir, and then lugging right in the closing stages under quite strong pressure, not seemingly know what to do. He looks pretty green, but then he surges away from his rivals. His final 3 furlongs was way better, according to the course track sectionals, than anything else in the race, of 36.91, and he has won going away in good style. For Godolphin, this might be one that got away. This was bought from Godolphin by George Bowie and his team. And the first time of asking, they've got a win out of Silent Monarch. And there might be more to come. One would fancy that he can possibly win under a penalty somewhere after taking this. You saw that little slip there as he lugged to his right and just interfered with Jupiter and Mars. But after that, he runs on quite strongly all the way to the line to give George Bowie his 79th winner of the season, striking at 17%. That's been a tremendous season for George Bowie. At first glance, this might not look to be a particularly strong race. I think that would be fair to say. I think this horse has done well amid greenness and a slight positional disadvantage, quite a long way back at halfway, but then staying on well in the closing stages to post the fastest final 3 furlongs. Well worth keeping an eye on going forward. He's not going to be a superstar, I don't think, but I think there's every chance that he can win again, possibly under a penalty fairly soon. I enjoyed the card at Beverley on Sunday. Poets Dawn taking the opener. Captain Kane was quite impressive when he won the 240 contest. Travelled strongly and quickened up pretty well according to the course track sectionals. But I'm going to go for a 2-year-old for the verdict here. The 5 o'clock Sirona was an 11-2 shot, and to be honest, this performance screamed the verdict afterwards, really. Even Chris Dixon, who was on course reporting for us, said, surely she's going to go into the verdict, and I acquiesced. I think she deserves her place here. 4-6 Serious Look, Bush Rose 100-30, 11-2 Sirona on debut for Charlie and Mark Johnson. And she wins this in style. She's a debutant, but she wins by 5.5 lengths, which was really quite impressive. Stall 4. There she is in those red colours. Serious Look, the favourite, from stall 2, and Slingsby 2 from stall 8. But to be honest, this was a 2-horse race from quite a long way out. The others fairly irrelevant as far as the future is concerned. Sirona, anything but irrelevant, given this performance. Now, the favourite fluffed the start, and in a moment is going to be rushed up to the lead. Don't think that necessarily did Serious Look any favours. And they certainly wanted to lead. That was clearly the plan, and fluffing the start didn't help. And they've used up some petrol now, angling wide, to surge up to the front and take the lead. Meanwhile, Sirona, here she is, ears pricked, travelling strongly, on debut, was very sharp out of the gates and adopted a nice, handy position. But here comes Serious Look. That move from last to first, having fluffed the start, will not have done him any favours. He will have used up petrol doing that. So, but what have we got here overall? Overall, we've got a very strong staying performance. Now, it looks like the winner quickens up sharply, quickens up impressively. Well, she does quicken. Her finishing speed percentage is 105.86. So she's come home 5.86% quicker in the last 2 furlongs than the rest of the race. But what she is relentless. She doesn't have a bright turn of foot according to the course track sectionals, but she ran evenly through the final 3, 12.6, 11.9 and a 12.5. She's a relentless galloper, ruthlessly efficient. She's just kept on rolling and she's easily got past Serious Look. Now she just picks up a little bit there. Her 11.9 second 7th furlong was good enough to put Serious Look away. And now amid greenness, she's looking at the crowd, ahead to one side for a stride or two. She just keeps on galloping. There's plenty of stamina in her pedigree. She's sure to stay a mile. This was 7. She'll definitely get a mile. There's a lot of 10 furlong stamina on the dam side of her pedigree. This is a German pedigree. And one would have thought that she'll definitely stay 10. She'll certainly get a mile as a 2-year-old. This is just a relentless performance. It's not a sharp turn of foot that she shows. It's a good turn of foot, and it's a really good performance for a debutant. Rarely do you see a debutant be as clued up as this and be able to go and put a horse like Serious Look, with previous experience, away as well as she did. So I think she's pretty useful overall. Clearly she's going to have to improve if she's going to step up and get black type, perhaps. She's going to have to improve again. But this was a very taking performance. Visually, I'm sure you were really impressed with what she did. Nothing in behind really showed any reason why they should go into a Racing TV tracker. Serious Look was slightly compromised by the tardy start and then being rushed up. But I don't think Serious Look would have won anyway. For Sirona, was really impressive. Even fractions for her, all the way up the home straight, relentless all the way to the line. She looks like a strong stayer. Stronger company awaits for her, and she's a very taking individual. And I was pretty impressed with what she did out there at Beverley, and I think plenty of other people were as well. Keep an eye on her going forward. Goodwood on Sunday now, and there are the winners. Nadawi taking the first race, 5,000 to 1. The 150, born to be a leader, winning for the Amanda Perrott team. That was a seller, actually. It was bought for 21,000 to go to the David Pipe Yard to go jumping. Double O Bubble took the feature event. We'll have a look at that race shortly. Peripatetic was quite impressive, making all to beat a couple of rivals, and Gert Lush won the last. But it's Savvy Victory who I want to have a look at. I think this is a good performance, and he bucks the trend of what was happening over the week, for he comes off the pace to win this, and it was a steady pace as well, and therefore I think he needs marking up. He was the 13-2 outsider of the lot. Falling Shadow for Godolphin was the 2-1 favourite, and Paradias at 11-4 was quite well found in the market. Just shy of 1.25 miles the trip here, and Savvy Victory can be identified from stall number 3. Second, an Armbubir from stall number 1, and Paradias from 5, who makes the running here, finishes back in 3rd. Paradias came here with good form, was behind Chaos Chorister here at Goodwood, at the Qatar Goodwood Festival, so had pretty good form, and now we'll just ease to the front. Now, Savvy Victory dropped out last. His last race, he made the running. They've decided to completely change the tactics with him here and drop him in, and it works a treat. Sean Wood's the trainer, and David Probert was the man on board. Now, Paradias goes to the front, and visually I thought, well, it looks like they're going a pretty good gallop here. They are going slightly downhill, but they weren't really. The finishing speed percentage tells us that it was just a moderate gallop, really, 108.59%. Although we should see that in the context of the ground, which was drying out on the Sunday of this 3-day Goodwood meeting. It was probably just about good ground, just on perhaps the easy side of good according to the times overall. And I think jockeys rode according to the ground. So this winner, Savvy Victory, in a race that wasn't that strongly run, has been able to surge past the quartet of rivals in front of him and show a bright turn of foot to go away and win. And because of that, I think he's pretty impressive in doing this. And he's going to get a mark in the low hundreds, I think, after this. And he's clearly pretty useful. Look at the way that he makes up his ground shortly. He's still hard on the bridle at this stage. They all are, because they've not gone that hard. Falling Shadow to your right in the Godolphin Blue. He is about to put his head up in the air and hang under pressure. And I'm not sure he was moving particularly well in the closing stages, and perhaps we should forgive him this particular effort. Paradia still going well out in front. Almabir just scrubbed along, but here comes Savvy Victory towards the outside, absolutely cruising at this stage, and he delivers. The sectionals tell us his 8th furlong was 11.44, his 9th furlong was 11.53, and that completely put his rivals away. Now, there's two ways of looking at this. Did the race just fall apart off what was just a modest gallop and horses underperform? Falling Shadow certainly did. Or did he actually benefit from hold-up tactics and show a nice turn of foot to put his rivals away? Well, it's probably a bit of both, but what we do know is that he quickened up smartly. But that's what the numbers tell us. We cannot really imply that they all underperformed. We don't know if they did or not, but we know he quickened up well, and he's produced a triple-digit speed figure in winning this. He's a very useful handicapper, and I think hold-up tactics in a strongly run race will see him put up an even better performance going forward, and that performance could come in the Cambridgeshire. He's got an entry in that. He'll get in, I think, given the rating that he's going to have on the back of this, and I quite like him going forward for a big handicap somewhere. I think they've got the tactics right with him now. Whether he's always going to want a little bit of dig in the ground, I don't know. If you go through his form, you scan through it, you could be forgiven for thinking that he's relatively exposed. But I think he's shown something else here. He's certainly shown a good turn of foot in the conditions, and I like him going forward. And the Cambridgeshire is not out of the way for this fella. He's a good-looking individual, and this was a nice performance, and the clock backs up what you saw out there. He did quicken. He put his rivals away, even if perhaps one or two of them weren't quite at their best. Well, we've had a look at the winners already for Goodwood on Sunday, and they included Double or Bubble, who won the Supreme Stakes, the Group 3 over 7 furlongs, a feature event on the card. But Happy Power was favourite at 7-4. Then it was Double or Bubble at 5-2, and I'm a Gambler, who'd won on the previous day a 4-1 shot for the Johnson team. But Double or Bubble got the job done here for Chris Wall and Jack Mitchell. Interesting race this, because what Double or Bubble wants really is decent ground and a good gallop. The ground was, well, it was drying out, but it wasn't the quick ground that Double or Bubble really likes. It was just on the easy side of good. But this horse has got away with it, and got away with a steady gallop as well. Stall 3 for the winner. Second, Misty Grey. Good run from Misty Grey. Happy Power from stall 1 was back in 3rd place. See how it panned out now. The thing about Double or Bubble is this is a horse who's a cruise and quickener and needs to be able to bounce off decent ground. It wasn't quick ground out there, there's no doubt about that. And this was not a strong gallop. Misty Grey took them along, got the run of the race out in front under Richard Kingscott for the Tom Dascombe yard, and they went very steady. The finishing speed percentage was very, very slow, 110.87. 10.87% quicker through the final 3 furlongs than Double or Bubble was in the early part of the race. So they've just crawled along, they've come down the hill, around the bend, negotiated all that, and it's turned into a bit of a sprint. And therefore, I'm going to argue that Double or Bubble, who's in here, has done very well to win. Ground's not ideal, gallop's not ideal, and has seeded the runner-up, who's here, 3 or 4 lengths, but is still able to quicken up and run Misty Grey down. So in the face of adversity times 3, ground, gallop and positional disadvantage, Double or Bubble's been able to win and needs marking up. This horse came into this race on the back of 2 good efforts. Platinum Jubilee at Royal Ascot and the July Cup at Newmarket. where Double or Bubble was arguably in the wrong side of the track, in the wrong group if you like, but ran particularly well over 6 furlongs there. Back to 7 here, and Down in Grade has worked, and so has this horse's turn of foot. Double or Bubble quickened up really well. 5th furlong 10.89, that's quick in the conditions, and the 6th furlong 11.02 to get to Happy Power on the far side, and then to go past Misty Grey, who doesn't give up. Look at the head carriage on Misty Grey, trying all the way to the line, got the run of the race but never stopped and never gave up. And Double or Bubble has got a surge. That's what the sectionals tell us, a 10.89, 11.02 surge, and then that's it really. So Jack Mitchell's got to time it right on this horse, and he'll find it easier to time it right when he's got horses stopping in front of him, when there's a good gallop causing them to stop. That wasn't happening here. They were not stopping. They ran all the way to the line, both Happy Power and Misty Grey. And Double or Bubble had to work hard to run them down against adversity. And it was a good effort. Very interesting to see where they go next with Double or Bubble. This is a nice prize to take. And the winner is entered in the future in the Park Stakes and the Kipco Champion Sprint as well. One would wonder about whether the ground would have gone come October for that Kipco meeting at Ascot. It might have gone for Double or Bubble, but they might just throw the hat in the ring and have a go. Perhaps the Park Stakes is where they're going to go with Double or Bubble. But this was a really good performance, clearly from a horse who's in tremendous form at the moment, and just prevailed with that surge, that one surge, to come from a bad position on ground he doesn't like. That was a really good effort from Double or Bubble, trained by, of course, the shrewd Chris Wall. I'm sure he'll find many more opportunities for Double or Bubble going forward. And well done to Jack Mitchell for timing that run absolutely spot on. So that was the verdict this week. I hope you enjoyed everything that we were able to bring you. No Group 1 action, but some interesting races nonetheless. I thought that Savvy Victory was very good coming from the back to win at Goodwood on Sunday, and ought to be kept an eye on in a decent handicap. And that George Bowie, a very nice winner at Beverley. I thought that was a very good performance at Beverley from Silent Monarch, and Sirona as well. A nice run from that 2-year-old for the Mark Johnson team. So plenty to go at as far as this week was concerned. Some horses for your racing TV tracker. Hope you enjoyed it. Next week we've got the big sprint at Haydock, and we'll certainly be having a look at that. See you then.